Welcome to Jollof and Fiction, home of African literature and stories, the kind that warm your heart like a fresh pot of jollof. Today, you're tuning into a recorded session of our online book discussion, so sit back, relax, and join the conversation.
My name is Olivia King, and I am your host for tonight's review. So today we're going to be reviewing the book Waiting for an Angel by Helon Habila. I don't know, I'm really excited about this book because it is Helon Habila. So let's get right into it. So first of all, I think I just want to ask a general question, unlike the normal question I would ask, which is your general view of the book, because I think we already have the same view of the book, sadness, whatever you're going to say and all that. But this time around, I want to ask you, what comes to your mind when you hear Helon Habila, or like when you pick up his book to read? Like, what do you expect? Do you have expectations of what you expect? Are you expecting something different, or are you expecting that it's going to be the same old guy, the same old writing style? So like, I'd really like to hear from you guys. What comes to your mind when you hear Helon Habila? So if you're ready to say something, you can kindly raise your hand. Okay, so Lambert is the first person to raise her hand. Lambert, the floor is yours. Can you tell us your thoughts?
Thank you. Good evening, Olivia. Good evening, everyone. So I haven't read enough of Helon Habila yet to have a very sturdy opinion, but I think that just the two I've read, which is that one, the twin brothers that had issues, that one we read, and this one, I've come to see Helon as what comes to my mind when I hear Helon is depth, mastery. He has a grasp on his art. I think he knows what he's doing. He's founded and well-grounded. There are books you may read, even of famous writers, or not so famous, but at least famous to an extent. You know that, okay, this person is still on a journey in writing. Their next book will still be better. Even though it was lovely, they can still get better. But when you read Helon, it's as though you're reading the artwork of a master. I mean, look at this book we read today. It just shows that he's also a poet, because the poetry inside these books, he didn't get them from anywhere. He wrote them as well. I think he's really, really brilliant. And going forward, when I hear the name Helon and I just pick up a book by Helon, I expect to be very well enriched. I expect a very, very rich and robust writing, rich with imagination, rich with sadness, but also rich with intelligence and eloquence. I think he knows what he's doing and he's good at it. That's my opinion of him with just the two books I've read of him. I'm still looking to read Travelers and the other one you guys mentioned. Thank you so much.
All right, Tehila, thank you so much. You should read Travelers. I don't even know what you're waiting for to read that book, but you really should read it. That's my favorite book of him. Okay, and then you said something about sadness. I'm coming to that. But first of all, before anyone else can say something, I just want maybe those who really don't understand his writing style to just have a little feedback on what Helon is about. His major works. This was actually his first work. This was his debut work in 2002, and it was set during the Nigerian military dictatorship. It explores, a lot of things like resistance, censorship, personal toll of authoritarianism, and a whole lot of other things. So, and I think Helon is one hell of a writer because he writes from an aspect of reality. I think that's one of the things I like about him. His stories are more like based on reality, based on things that happens, and he makes it so beautifully in a way that even you, who is just a reader, who did not experience these times, can feel the pain or, whatever emotions that whoever was the protagonist of the book was going through. Like in this book, I could literally understand the standpoint of the Nigerians, their agitations, every single thing that went on, and that is how he writes. So few of his books, so some other works he had is like Measuring Time, which is the one Tahila talked about, the one that had to do with the twins. Then there's Oil and Water, which also is something related to politics and, government related issues. And then there was Travelers, which is my favorite, and I think these are the ones I've read so far. So far I can say that Helon is just a master of his art, and there's nothing short about it. Sad or not, he's a good writer. So I would like to hear from anybody else if someone else has something different to add to what has been said so far before we can move on to the next question of today. If you have anything you'd like to add, kindly raise up your hand and I'll call you. Anybody? Okay, Nabas wants to say something. Nabas, you can speak.
Okay, thank you, Olivia. I particularly love Helon's style of writing, and the first of his books I read was Travelers, and I still love Travelers. I think that's basically the book that started this book club in a way. I think after I posted comments from Travelers, my thoughts on Travelers, people saw it and like, hey, I think you should start a book club, stuff like that. And Olivia, I think that was when you asked me to create a group where I would just refer novels, just because of Helon Habila's book, Travelers. And I loved the book so much so that it broke my heart when I shared it to someone and the person read it and rated it 2 over 10. I don't know if you've ever experienced that before, and something means so much.
2 over 10?
Exactly. So, and then I'm sort of in another book club, but I'm not really active there. I'm not the head of the book club, but someone said in that book club that he read the book and he slept off 2 times reading the book. He never touched the book again. Well, I'm just saying that to say that a lot of us might have different point of views about Helon's writing, but I like Helon Habila for the fact that his stories are relatable. Do you understand? You might call those stories sad, but that's someone's reality in this country. You have to be aware of that somehow this is what somebody's going through. The fact that he could conceive it means it's actually happening. Do you understand? And a lot of times I say you should not separate that reality from what he's writing, that this is actually true. Do you get? So I love all his books. I think I've read almost all his books. I think I've read almost all his books. I can boast about that now. I think. Thank you.
I think so too. I think from what I checked online, I think it's just remaining one, which is like a short story, something like that, an anthology, something like that. But the rest, I'm seeing, or I saw, I think I've also read them, and I don't have any bad read of Helon Habila. I think my least favorite is Measuring Time, but it was still an amazing read, and that was because there was no, the way he pieces his stories together. Such things, it wasn't really like that. That one was like a straightforward story. All right, thank you so much, Nabas, for your wonderful input. Okay, so let's move forward to the first question of the day. And I think I would like to copy it and paste on the chat box so that we can all refer to it. So, sorry, just give me a minute. Okay, so the first question I have is, what does it mean to resist in a world where resistance seems futile? Like, I mean, literally, we could see how Lumber, right, and other characters push back. Like, I mean, they try to write, they try to keep quiet, and even withdraw themselves. And do you think resistance is always visible, or is their quiet endurance also powerful? Because I feel like even though they tried to, like, the moment when they tried to keep quiet, nothing was improving. And even though they tried to, like, form a resistance to these problems, nothing improved. And when they tried to fight back, it was even worse. So, like, what do you think? What are your thoughts on a world where resistance is futile? Like, whether you resist or not, you're still going to feel the heat of whatever is going on. So I'd like to hear your thoughts. If someone, I might randomly pick someone. So if anyone has to say has something to say, you can kindly speak. Lambert, can we hear from you?
Thank you. Good evening again. So you said, what does it mean? How does it feel when resistance is resisted, right? And the injustice just keeps going on and on despite the resistance. I think for me, it's very rare. It can feel very suffocating. It can feel very asphyxiating for someone to be in a place where their opinion don't matter, their voice is not heard, they are oppressed and stumbled on, and then even when they try to project or resist, they are further oppressed. It can be very frustrating. It can be very suffocating. It's very painful, and it gives credence to the phrase "pushed to a wall." That's where you sometimes get a mob. You sometimes get chaos. It leads to wars, as a matter of fact. The human person, the human mind was not made to be hemmed in and cloaked in and suppressed. I think the Creator put that thing in every man to have an opinion, to have liberty. I think freedom is a fundamental human right. So when people are not giving what they expect, or people are treated so badly and then they try to resist, and it seems as though it's so futile, it's not yielding any results, it can lead to chaos. As a matter of fact, it can lead to things like suicide, it can lead to depression, it can lead to a breakout of robbery, increase in crime. Some of these things are manifestation of frustrations boiling over, unattended woes and ills of the heart. Because if you have a government that listens to you, if you have partisan politics that understands the people and are truly for the people, by the people, you are going to have mass reduction in, should I say, crime in general, mass reduction in the various ways that frustration can express themselves. So I think it's very haunting, even not just in the government now, just start from your family. Maybe you have something to do, something to say, and you want to do something, and you're being resisted, and you're being deprived of something. Then you try to resist, and it seems as if no way, nobody's budging. This is what we want you to do. This is what you must do, your opinion notwithstanding. So I think in any setting, whether on a larger scale with the government or niched down to even two people in a relationship, if resistance, if an outcry is rendered null and void, if it is futile, it leads to frustration. It leads to, it can manifest in different various ways. It can manifest in vices. It can manifest in protests. It can manifest in people want to be heard. People want to feel like they are heard, even though they are not hearing them. Just pretend. Don't resist their resistance. Don't make them feel like this is what we're doing and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So I think that's what democracy is about, right? To hear the people out. So yeah, it can be a very ugly situation when people's resistance is futile, just like we see in the book. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tahila. And the way I see I understand your opinions, and I also think that at some point when you try to resist, and there's going to be an outburst. There's going to be an outburst. Although I wouldn't say it works for places like Nigeria, but there's definitely going to be an outburst somewhere or somehow. So yeah, that's what I think. All right, let's hear from Jennifer. Her hand is raised. And after Jennifer, then Mesoma. So Jennifer, let's hear from you.
Okay. How I felt while reading this book was there was fear. There was fear in it, as much as like other emotions were there, but there was also fear. Because it wasn't like Helon Habila was writing about Salem witches or something that happened at a time that I cannot relate to. Because as much as what he's writing about is very linked to things in the past in this country, it was just very scary to see how similar things like that are still happening in this present. I mean, I just kept on thinking back to October, is it 2020 now or 2021? It happened. The toll gates, NSAS protest. I just kept on thinking back to it, and I was like, oh my God, do we really ever get justice? But then, after reflecting on it, I realized no matter how pointless it is, it is very important to still resist. And there are many reasons. I mean, for the most basic reason is the fact that we are humans. Okay, we cannot just act like zombies. When we see something wrong, for the fact that we are still humans and there's still that humanity we believe in, we have to at least say something. Okay, as much as the government sometimes feels very, very disengaged from Nigeria and they feel like they are just doing what they want and we can speak up what we want and shout what we want, they really don't care. We still need to keep saying something. We still need to keep shouting out and trying to resist, because we are not zombies. Okay, we are not piles of beings. We are alive humans. We are feeling all these things, and we need to show them that we are thinking humans as well, and we see these things and we are resisting it and we are speaking up for it. And then aside the fact, just to prove that we are humans, there's also this thing about what I call it legacy now. Legacy and the fact that history is being written as we speak. So everything we do is being written down in history. October 2020, I hope I'm getting the date right. NSAS, even though we didn't have very tangible success from NSAS, it is still a very key, October 2020. It was still a very key moment. Like years from now, we can always call up that moment and call and think about a time when Nigerian youth stood up. And I was so proud to be in Nigeria. I wasn't proud to be in Nigeria, but I was proud to be a Nigerian youth at that point, because as much as it was scary, as much as it seemed very pointless and very horrible, you could still see the strength and pride of like Nigerian youths. I was so happy with the way we were able to like just come up and organize something without much resources, and we did all we can before the final end, but we did all we could. We proved ourselves. So as much as we may not see the immediate change, sometimes we still need to just speak out. Okay, one, we are humans. Two, because change may not be immediate. I know how things have definitely changed from NSAS. It may not be things that we can like sources we can write down. Oh, this thing happened, but slowly people's mindsets have begun to change. It's no longer business as usual. As much as they are still embezzling and everything is still bad, but at least there's this awareness now. There's this, people are more awake. So we are seeing things like it was like a very wonderful jolt. It woke everyone up to realize that, oh, okay, the youths are here and they are seeing this and they are speaking up because they want a Nigeria they can be proud of in future. So at this point, just keep on resisting, no matter how futile it is. Okay, keep on. It is the only thing we can do. And then lastly, just for the sake of holding on to hope, because if we do not resist, if we just embrace whatever they give us and decide to just sit down, we'll just end up sliding down a very slippery slope to hopelessness. So to hold on to hope, the only thing we can do is to resist. So yeah, I'm saying resist, no matter how futile. Resist in any small way you can.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you so much for your very wonderful input. And I think you're right. And you said something about the October 2020 event. I thought about it because when I read some of these things and I remembered some of the stories my parents told us about the whole military regime and what it was like, and then somehow my mind just went around and I realized that the same thing happening then is the same thing happening now. And the only difference is that people have not taken to the streets. And the first time they tried to take to the streets, October 2020 happened. So actually, yes, we find out we're still living in the same circle of things that happened in the past. But I think, like you said, we should just keep resisting, because I don't know, where there is life, there is we hope, right? Is that how they say it? Something like that. So yeah, I think we should keep resisting. All right, Mesoma, can we quickly hear from you before we go back to the next question?
Okay, so we have to resist because I hope you can hear me.
Not really. Your line is breaking. You're not very audible. So if you can increase your volume or something, I don't know.
Okay, so
I think we resisting, even though it might be a futile attempt, is just to preserve our integrity and dignity and our humanity in the end, because we can only try, right? And we can just do our best. It's more like defying the dehumanizing systems. Like Jennifer mentioned, the October 2020, we did the prayer, we came out, and then some people lost their lives at the toll gate. But then imagine if we did not even try to do anything at all. At the end of the day, it would have just been more of words and no action at all. I think when we resist, it's our own way of, actually showing that we are not in support of that kind of movement. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. You actually made a valid point. And although lives were lost, someone said something one time after the toll gate thing happened. He said that he thinks that for this country to become better, people have to lose their lives. And it's true. And it's unfortunate that it could be anybody. It could be just about anybody, because I mean, that day was a very terrible day. It's just like a young person like myself or anyone going out and just saying, oh, I just want to go and protest for my rights. And the next thing, he doesn't make it back home. Some of the videos I watched were so gory that you could see people's skulls splattered all over on the road. Like, I cried that day. I cried so much. I was crying. My brother was like, "Guy, you don't even know these people." I said, "It doesn't matter." Like, I was so hurt because these were young people who just wanted a better life for themselves, and not that they even were violent or anything. So I'm actually trying to imagine October 2020 and this 1999 when this whole thing was happening. So I'm trying to just create a mental picture, and I realized that it's almost the same thing. It's almost the same thing, if not even worse, because I don't know if we've had much changes. Okay. Nabas wants to say something. So Nabas, you speak and then we'll go over to the next question. Thank you so much,
yeah. Still on the issue, like from reference to October 2020, the thought of that day still rings in my head, because I imagine if I was in Lagos and in the area at that time, I definitely would have joined them, knowing the kind of person I am. Do you understand? So I stopped to think that if I was there, that's how my life would just go. And it's not even about my life going, because people die for a cause. But then your life ends there, and there's no change after that. There's no remarkable thing. The people whose member had died, whose family member had died in that, cannot say, okay, because they died, this has happened in the country. It's swept under the rug. Some people don't even know who and who died there. So I think back, and somehow I don't know if I should feel grateful or to feel sad that somehow I would have been there, because I'm very outspoken, and sometimes I love this kind of demonstrations. I would love to go out, but I also know that I think they went somewhat violent in a way. They were destroying and demolishing buildings, stuff like that. So I don't know if I would have done that, but I know if it was just a peaceful demonstration, I would have been there, and only God knows what would have happened to me.
Yeah, I get. I had a friend who was actually. Thank you so much, Nabas. I had a friend who was actually at the toll gate that day the shooting happened, and I mean, I was so scared for him, but he didn't lose his life. I think he was among the first people who were able to take cover when the whole shooting started. And like, but those of them in Lagos, some people use it as an avenue, of course, trust Nigerians, to loot shops and do a lot of vandalizing. But that night was just a peaceful night, according to the live recording that was uploaded. But that's like by the way, though. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for your input on this question. So let me go over to the next question. And the next question is, okay, it says, does Lumba is actually the protagonist in the story. He was the most mentioned person. So does Lumba achieve freedom even while imprisoned? Now it says, reflect on the paradox of physical confinement and intellectual freedom. Can imagination or memory be a form of liberation? Because I don't know. I was actually thinking about it, and when he said he could write, he had ways to express himself, and somehow for a moment I was like, at least you found something that took your mind off, being where you are, even though you cannot compare being outside to being in that deplorable state. But at the same time, I was asking myself, if I found myself in Lumba's situation, what would I do? Is there something I can do other than cry to, take my mind off this thing? Because I feel, I don't know, I just want to hear from you guys. So read the question and answer. Okay, someone has raised his hand. Who's going first? Okay, Nabas, you speak first, then Lambert.
Okay, I think the idea of being in prison but then your mind is free, there are certain, I'd say there are certain paradoxes to it. I'm trying to remember which of the prominent writers, Nelson Mandela. Yes, Nelson Mandela said he read the works of Chinua Achebe when he was in prison. And there was something he said there in the walls, with the words of, I'm trying to paraphrase, but he said, when I read the words of Chinua Achebe, I felt the prison walls around me come down. And that was a very powerful thing he said there. I'm just paraphrasing, but it was Nelson Mandela that said that about Achebe's works. Now, like I said, there's a paradox to it. There is how you can be in a cell, and then your mind has stored around the world. But then, being in that cell, it also matters what you see. Because oftentimes, the limitation you are seeing also has a way of affecting your mind over time. This is what you are seeing. You're not seeing past this. So you can't even dream beyond the four walls you're seeing. Do you understand? So that also affects the mind. So it works both ways. You need to go out there to experience, and you also need your mind to be free. I don't know if you understand what I mean. So it's possible to be in a prison cell and yet your mind is touching places in the whole world. And it's also possible to be in the world but yet have your mind in a cell. Do you understand my point? There are no answers to it.
I understand your point perfectly, but at the same time, I think it takes a level of, what should I say, understanding, patience, to see it this way. Because literally, if I find myself in Lumba's situation where everything, given the details of the book, I don't know what I would do. I don't think I would even, I'm really short of words on how to describe how I feel, because I am trying to imagine myself in that situation. I'm never going to be there, but it's just like, I don't think that, your mind being free can be equated to being outside. But thank you so much, Numbers. Let's hear from Lambert.
Thank you, Olivia. I chuckled when you said that all you would do is cry. But thank you. I think that it's a coping. I think it's a coping mechanism, because the situation is not ideal. The ideal situation is for the human body to be able to, there's something about freedom, liberty. If I'm inside my room, I can be inside my room for 1 week if there's light and there's food and there is data. But I know that I can go out when I want to. So I'm not going out, yet I'm at peace within myself, just because of the idea or notion of freedom. Yeah. So if you take that away from me, suddenly in my room that I would have stayed on my own for 1 week without you putting me in prison, if you now say you are under house arrest and you cannot go out, suddenly it becomes a problem. Even though I would have stayed willingly for a week, now you've taken away my choice, you've taken away my right to choose. So the fact that someone finds themselves in the ugly situation of being imprisoned, it already does something to the mind. As a matter of fact, I dare say it's more of a mind imprisonment than a bodily imprisonment, because they allow them to move in the courtyard. They have times when they come out before lockup. So their body is not restricted per se. They are not in chains. But the fact that they can't go out, even about socializing, they socialize with people inside the prison. Some of them make lifelong friends inside the prison. So the first embargo of prison is on your mind. So now if you can break that rock and liberate your mind and be able to travel beyond those prison words with things like arts, writing, books, and some sort, is like giving your mind an avenue to be free. Allowing yourself to do what you would have done is like not allowing your mind to be imprisoned per se. So I think it's a coping mechanism to find ways to find your mind is in books, is in letters, is in music. As a matter of fact, we've seen autobiographies, we've heard of stories of some of the most beautiful art pieces, poetry, books that came out of prison. As a matter of fact, the Apostle Paul was writing from prison, and one of his letters, he says, I'm a free man, I owe no man nothing. So I think you just have to be free. You don't have a choice, except you want to accept your reality and stay in prison and languish. But if you can rise, if you can ascend in your mind beyond those walls, which I think Lambert tried to do with his books and all, but even to the end of the novel, we still saw that prison was really affecting him. The rats that were nibbling at his feet, the mosquitoes, it's just not the same with being a free person. But I think it's a coping mechanism to escape the harsh realities that they find themselves. They build another world in their mind. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sahila. I laughed when you said Paul said he was a free man. No, I know. Anyway, kudos to them because, like I said, I don't know how I'd feel, but yes, it's more of a mind thing because, first of all, your mind becomes imprisoned and you find out that, I think, the moment you get into prison, you think like your life is over, you can't do anything else. But what about those who cannot write? What about those who cannot? It was actually, maybe this is going to bring me to a question where I initially wanted to ask if suffering is actually an avenue for you to think deeply, but I don't think we'll have time for that. But then, what about those who cannot write and those who cannot do anything creative to take their minds off? All right, so let's hear from Mesoma and then Jennifer, and then we can move on to the last question because I would really like us to talk about the last question. So Mesoma, quickly, let's hear from you.
Okay. First thing, all I want to say is nobody likes an involuntary prison, right? Nobody likes to be sent to prison. You can decide within yourself that, okay, I don't want to go out, but once you are confined, once your freedom of movement is restricted, you see that nobody really likes it. And then another thing is when like for Lumba now, freedom was restricted, and because of who he is, because he's a journalist, you see that other senses, other creative, his mind is now becoming very active. You see that when he met Mr. James, the editor for the Dow, he said it took him several minutes to write that article that they eventually loved. But then in prison, you see that because he's not really thinking about a lot of things, he's just in a space, his job is wake up and sleep. To fill his time, he just uses his creative side to pass time. You see that his writing flows more. The love letters that he recoined and did everything for the superintendent, you see that it just every day he's writing love letter. Like every day he was writing love letter. But if he was outside, if he had a lot of things doing, if his thought was, okay, what am I going to eat today? What am I going to do today? How am I going to put this thing into words? In fact, in prison, he didn't have writer's block. But in the outside world, he must have gone like the floor because he couldn't. So you see that when you are confined to something, your other senses, they just get like activated sort of. And then you see that Helon also showed that even mentally that he was always, thinking. His mind was very active. Like he came out of works. He has published a lot of works because his experience, him meeting Janet, you see that it's from prison that we learnt of his life and a lot of other things. So I just feel like if you are confined, if a part of you, or if one part is restricted, you see that automatically your other senses, your other side, maybe things that you didn't know that you had will just get.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Sama. That was a very valid point. And yes, in a way, I think there's
I'm done.
chaos. Okay, thank you so much. At some point, you got cut off, but yes, I think we heard most of the things you said. So I think, normally they say that the idle man is the devil's workshop, but I think in prison where there's nothing for you to do, there's nothing for the devil to workshop you to do. You just have to think outside the box of how to keep yourself busy, and that was Lumbar's case. But then somehow I feel bad for those who do not have the creative ability, maybe in writing or anything, and to think that they were even denied access of books. Imagine, whenever a thought drops in my head, if I don't write it down immediately, sometimes I might forget. So imagine all the other poems he would have written if he had more access to books. So maybe I think in prison itself, they should allow them access to libraries and things that can actually better their lives, so that who knows what is going to come out from there? Who knows? The greatest script might come out from there, or something nice. I don't know. But I really think the prison facility should be restructured, but that's another story. So let's quickly hear from Jennifer and move on to the next thing, because I really want to talk on the last topic, the last question.
Okay, I think the prison, particularly in this Helon Habila's book, is one of the worst prisons, and it's those kind of prisons that they're very particular about your imprisonment. They don't just want to imprison you physically; they want to also imprison you mentally. And if you read through, you would see how it was playing out. It was like a gradual erosion of the minds of the prisoners. The way they were degraded. Imagine not even giving them access to your family members. They didn't have access to any lawyers. They weren't even told what they did. Like, what exactly am I being tried for? You've not even been tried. Like, I feel the main aim of this prison, like the way the superintendents were treating them, the wardens were just particularly unnecessarily way too harsh. It was really about, they were trying to slowly break down these prisoners mentally. And I feel that was where Lumbar managed to succeed, because even the superintendent must have been surprised when he read the poems and was like, oh my god, this is actually nice poems. And he came back and realized, oh wait, so you still have a functioning mind. And then you notice even the superintendent, his countenance changed towards Lumbar, because I feel truly he was able to get that freedom by protecting his sanity and finding a way to still hold on. There was a part of the book that really crushed me. Let me see if I can find it, where he said, okay, 2 threadbare shirts, 1 pair of trousers, 1 plastic comb, 1 toothbrush, 1 half bar of soap, and a pencil. This is the sum of my life. I thought, this is what I finally shrunk to. At that point, my heart broke, it shattered, because this is exactly what the prison warders want. This is how they want the prisoners to feel. They want you to just slowly lose your sense of entity. Like, they want you to lose your sanity slowly. So, like, prison is meant to be a place for rehabilitation, but this was not rehabilitation. They were just trying to break these people and make them regret ever living in this world. So I'm really happy that even if it was through writing, he was still able to hold on to that sense of identity. And I find it's very funny, but I still Lumbar, someone who is quite religious. His religion was not just Christianity, he was quite religious, because he had a mantra. He literally had a mantra he says when he goes to solitary confinement, or when he's passing through the toughest times. As a Christian, that mantra will probably be a prayer. It will be a prayer for me. So I'm really happy that at least he found something. It would have been probably much more beautiful if it was God. No problem. But I'm really happy he did find something that helped him maintain his sense of identity. But if you ask me, I feel he won in this case. He actually did. He was free.
All right, thank you so much, Jennifer. That was well said. And that point, that part of the book where you read out, it really, really broke me. And when I read it, I was like, what? Like, I paused for a moment and I felt it deep. You know, when someone is like, by then the book had not even revealed what his whole life was about. But the moment he made that statement, this is the sum of my life, I could feel how pained he was. And then the moment when he said that he finally accepted it, he told us about the day he finally accepted his fate of being in prison and all. But you know, I'm really happy that yes, somehow he found freedom for himself, even though he was short term, even though I was so mad at that superintendent for delaying his release, because I feel like he would have been released earlier if not for his selfish reasons of wanting him to remain and keep writing letters for him. But that's all by the way though. And yeah, I'm really happy he found a reason to stay alive in that prison. Okay, so the last question for tonight is it's like something that I really wanted to ask. So it says, can art, hold on, I'd like to paste it on the chat box too. So the question is, just a sec. So the question says, can art still matter when it has no immediate audience or effect? When Lumber writes poetry in prison, knowing no one may read it, what is he really doing? Is there value in the act of creation, even if it's unseen? Because like I had this question on my mind the whole time I was reading. I was like, what was he even thinking writing all these things? What if he never gets seen? Which some of them never got seen, and they ended up being the superintendent's letter to his lover and all that. But like, do you think art still has value even though it's never going to be read? What are your thoughts on this? So I think Lambert raised her hand first. So Lambert, you go first, and then Jennifer next.
Thank you. Absolutely. I think art still has value even if it doesn't have an immediate audience. I think the artist is the first audience of his art. I think there's a place in the book where Lumber mentioned that he was writing more for himself or something like that. But like we said in the previous question, being a coping mechanism, being a means of escape. So before the audience, before other people get to appreciate and see and love the art, most artists, ranging from sculptors to painters to poets to novelists to spoken word artists, most artists are first in love with their own art. They are the first audience of the art. I've written pieces that I just stayed and relished long before anyone saw or heard them. I've written a piece that I recorded on my phone recorder and just played to myself for the soothing of my own soul. It was so soothing and I was just enjoying it long before I sent it to a friend and it was like, this is beautiful, you have to record this, even though I never eventually recorded it. But I think if you can ask any living artist, most of them, the art is to them first, to them, for them, by them, long before others see it. I think it's a means of traveling, a journey, a means of escape. As a matter of fact, most people who are going through on some sort of depression or the other found a means of escape from their grotesque reality to a world that they created with their pen, and I think it did him good to an extent. At least it kept him going and it kept him distracted. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Lambert. And I think I quite agree with you because what you said reminded me of something. When my dad passed away, I had, even till now, I still have it. I wrote a lot of things because usually I just write down my thoughts. But when after that happened, it became more of sad thoughts, things that had to do with grief and all. And I never, nobody ever got to see it. It was never on my status. It was never on Facebook or anything. There were times I did talk about just, how I felt, but those deep, very deep ones, I wrote them for myself. And sometimes I go back and I read them and I remember how I felt in those moments and how those moments made me feel. And I don't know if it's torturing myself, but I still feel grateful that I wrote down those thoughts, because one day those things are going to remind me how I felt in those times. And yes, I do agree that sometimes even if art is not seen by any other person but the writer, it still holds a lot of meaning. All right, so let's hear from you, Jennifer, and then Nabas next, and we can round up.
Okay. I see art as art is like a testimony of the artist's identity, basically. And I was very happy when I got so invested in the story that I started to see Lumba as a real, non-fictional character. And I was like, oh, thank God he wrote all these things. Thank God now we can read about him. So, but if I'm coming from the aspect of sense now, I have a friend, a very wonderful, lovely friend of mine. And very recently I was thinking, oh, if she dies, I'm not wishing her death, but like eventually when she dies of old age, I was just imagining how so many, because she has a lot of friends. And when I mean a lot of friends, I mean a lot of friends that she's like actively checking up on. Like how many people would come with pictures and stories, and I have letters from her to like post eventually, because I feel like she would eventually become a saint. So like when they are calling for witnesses, I would be there with my letters and videos and pictures. And this is like, the letters now are like art that she has left to me. She probably would never even imagine the world reading her letters. But if she dies and they're asking me if she should be a saint, I would definitely bring up the letters. So yeah, I feel art is definitely, it could be a testimony of the artist's identity. So please, if you have something beautiful, even if you don't think you can share it to the world at that moment, just write it, okay? Hopefully thousands of years or hundreds or maybe some years from now, some archaeologist or artist or some random person will dig it up and find it and then share to everyone. So please, and this is not just art as like paintings or drawings, even pictures, okay, even videos, letters, anything at all that is just of value and it was written with so much heart and love. Please just save it, okay, save it, because you'll be so surprised how little things like this could end up really changing someone else's heart or mind in the future. So please, more of that, okay, for posterity's sake. Write, save, take pictures, just save for posterity's sake.
All right, thank you so much, Jennifer. And yeah, I think I agree with you. For posterity's sake, one day somebody is going to find it, and who knows who it might speak to at that moment. Because besides, I mean, even the Bible we read today there were things people wrote and kept record of. Imagine the Bible was never written. I mean, imagine they never bothered to write it down. I mean, how would we know some of these things? So yes, I think I agree with you on that. So finally, Napas, let's hear from you before we can quickly round up.
Okay, thank you. I agree with Tehila and with Jennifer on everything they said. That a lot of times the art, and I'm speaking as an artist, the art sometimes is primarily for the artist himself, his way of expressing feeling. Do you understand? I remember something I wrote in 2019, and it was a poem, a line or something, a poem or something. I don't even know what to call it, but I remember saying it to myself as a prayer at some point, as a poem, and then eventually people got to see that line. I still remember the line. It said, "Teach me to love you with all the hate I feel inside." And it was from a personal place, because I was starting to love my new self, but then I struggled with a lot of self-hate. And so that's how the line got inspired. Teach me to love you with all the hate I feel inside. So at some point in my life, it was like a prayer for myself, a mantra and some stuff like that. And also we can't also disregard the fact that there's a place for the audience. Now, especially for the artists, to a large extent, the audience determine how the poem is written, how an art is made. Imagine a poet writing to his lover. There's a certain kind of excellence he wants to achieve compared to when he's writing to himself, for himself rather. Do you understand? There's a kind of standard he needs to meet, and that's what makes it better in a way. Imagine you're writing something for yourself. You really might not really take note of certain things like that. You might just writing, but when you're conscious that you're writing it to an audience, it makes you make the extra effort to ensure it's perfect. It goes very well. So we cannot disregard the place of the audience as much as we're also talking about art and admiration as well. And I think, like I said, there are a lot of these things, there are dichotomies to it. There are two sides to it. Do you understand? A lot of artists that are very popular now, if you ask them, sometimes they were not even aware that their art would make that much impact. They were just making art for themselves. Do you get? So I think we should also consider both sides of the coin. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. You're actually right. And that makes sense. Both sides are really important. Whether it is seen or unseen, the audience too plays a vital role in, how art is also perceived and all. So, in all, I think write the one you can write as much as you can, publish as much as you can, and probably keep the ones you can secret, but make sure someone finds it when you're no more or something like that. And if it's good enough and it gets published, it might actually get to the right audience one day and change your life also. So yes, so thank you so much, guys, for today's review. It was really insightful. And Lambert, is your hand still up? Nabas, do you still have something to say?
No, it's when you just mentioned keep it secret, that I just thought there are even artists that have written things that are for themselves alone, not to be shared. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Okay. So keep it secret. If you want it found after you're dead because you really feel like the world should know about it, that's fine too. But then I think every one of us made a very wonderful point, and I am so happy about today's review. Thank you so much, guys. Judith, why are you giving us a sad reaction? Is there a problem? I really wanted to hear you say something because you were really complaining about the book being so sad or not, but that's okay. Maybe the next review. So thank you so much, guys, for today's review. Thank you for participating. Thank you for making it lively. Thank you for making it what it is. Do have a lovely night rest. It's still me, your host, Olivia. Bye, guys.
Don't forget to hit the follow button and tap on the notification icon to stay updated. That's all for today's episode. To join our book club or stay updated on future discussions, follow us on Instagram and X at Jollof Book Club, Jollof with a double F. And thank you so much for listening.